Hi, my name's Ian Wallace. I call myself the Messed Up Counsellor, which is quite an intriguing name. And the podcast you're about to see is one of many, and we've been doing about a year now. So you can look back and see all the things we've talked about with guests and on my own over the process. A lot of the information I use in the podcast initially came from the first book I wrote in 2011. Why do we do that? What do we do about it? And that came out and was the basis of all my learning, understanding at that time, which is going back a few years now. And that process of understanding how the world works for people, how we can alter, change, and adapt it, was kind of what it was there to do at the initial stages. I've made that now an audiobook as well, so it's available on Amazon as an audio file that you can check out and you can download to your heart's content, and hopefully that will be helpful. In the podcasts, we're trying to look at all sorts of things that about human interactions, human dynamics, the world, and how we might understand it more or change it more. So it gives you lots of ideas and tools in order to think about and look at different ways of being or dealing with things. And hopefully that brings people together and makes people more able to connect and communicate. Lots of topics. If you ever want to connect to me, just obviously drop me a comment on the podcast and I shall try as much as possible to reply. And if you've got any ideas of things that we might want to use on the podcasts, then please let me know. My name's Ian Wallace. Thanks for looking and thanks for listening. Hi, and welcome to another podcast from Ian Wallace, the Messed Up Counsellor. There's a theme to the last three podcasts, as if anybody's listened to all three, then you'll understand it. And today what I'd like to do is kind of look at the last part of that theme, which is about reconnection to others when we go through traumatic situations in our world and our lives. Now that may sound as though it's an easy thing to do, but it isn't. Especially if they've been part of that traumatic event. So it's not just the person, but the family or the group or the friends or whatever it is that's gone through the trauma. All those people will go through the trauma differently. The trauma will be the same, obviously, the event. But how we cope with that event, how we take our part of that event and how we react to that event will be completely different. And even though there will be similarities between how people go through it, there will be these unique aspects to us. So when we're going through the trauma, usually people will go more on their own thoughts, ideas, internalize them, and take some space, time out, in order to do that. They will want to initially be possibly on their own or in their own space or in a place where they feel more comfortable. So when we've gone through that, when the trauma's occurred and the kind of process of disconnection, if you like, has happened, then reconnection is kind of what we need to do, or reconnecting. When we do that reconnection, everybody that's been through that will have changed. It will have changed them in some way, shape or form. It might not change them physically, or it could have done, but it will change them emotionally or mentally, because once we experience anything, we can never be the same again, which is why we evolve, develop, grow. So when we're reconnecting, we need to bear in mind that our way of looking at the world, which is ours and it's okay, won't be their way of looking at the world, and they will be different. And sometimes that difference can be isolating. Nobody understands it like I do. Nobody sees it the way I see it. Sometimes, if it can be shared and other people can respect that view, even if they don't understand it, then the group or the couple or the family or whoever it is in that process can grow from it, can develop and go forward. So the first thing we need to do is understand that everybody will be different. We can't use our understanding of the world as excuse me, the world. We have to see it as a part of that world, but not the whole world. And initially that's not going to be easy, because most of us see our world as the only world, and the way that we look at it, the way we see it, is the way everybody else sees it, which is not true, obviously. So we have to accommodate those other people's view of that world, which, as I say, initially might not be easy. It might be, but it might not be. Once we've done that, we have to then listen. We have to then connect, and where we connect is we listen. Connection isn't just talking. Connection is listening. If the other person feels heard, understood, respected, validated, all those things, then that listening is the way that works. If we use that connection process just to inform them of how we feel, we won't connect. We're more likely to disconnect, to be fair, because human beings connect by being listened to, by being understood, as a sharing process. So when we're reconnecting, we need to find space and time to do it properly. We don't or can't usually do it in a very rushed way. I've got 5 minutes now, because that's not valuing that person, that's not respecting that person's needs, requirements. It's us dictating, I've got 5 minutes now, which is not listening, it's telling. So less likely to find the reconnection process if we do that. So we have to give it space and time. We have to respect it, validate it. We have to see it as being not easy for the other person, and that not only our objectives need to be met. It's not for them to support us necessarily. It's for us to support each other. So yes, they need to listen to us, obviously. It has to be a two-way street. But we have to listen to them. So they may have different ideas, different ways of looking at something, which might be hard for us sometimes to contemplate or to even hear. Their views, their emotions, their sadness, their experience of that process might not be easy for us to sit and listen to and to just hold. Sometimes that might have to be done through a family therapist, and they will help all parties feel as though they're listened and heard. And so we're working that process, we're finding that space and time that's valued and respected and not rushed. We have to do it with their cooperation. So when I say that, we have to have a shared understanding what that time will be, where it will be, how long it will be for, that both parties or all parties have a view and are signed up to, so that they can feel as though they have a voice, they are listened to. So the reconnection is A, that they do have a different or will have a different perspective. B, that we need to have a shared understanding of when we can try to start the reconnection. And that might not be happening there and then. it might be an ongoing process of reconnection. It might not just be a one-hit wonder. They may need time to build trust in us or the situation, or conquering their fears, whatever those may be. But it won't necessarily be something we can just do. It might be, but more often than not it won't be. So we need to see it as an ongoing process, as a structured process of reconnection instead of a once only. And as we're doing that reconnection, we need to look at it from their view, as I've said, and let them look at it from our view, and understand that the reality is somewhere in the middle, as I've said on previous podcasts. So whatever that shared reality is the reality. And that's the one that we take going forward. Because if we can do that, then each person will feel listened to and validated and respected, and that we negotiate a compromise. We negotiate some middle ground of understanding. And as we go through that, then we will hopefully start to engage with the process of reconnecting. Those need to be negotiated. We cannot demand somebody connects. It won't work. Even if they turn up, even if they're there, the fact that they had no choice, the fact that they didn't have an opportunity to have control and responsibility of their input means, yes, they may be there, but they will not be listening and they will not be involved in the process for a shared outcome. They might put up with it because they think they should. They might pay lip service to it. One of the things that can go wrong with this process of reconnection is that if somebody is naturally an appeaser, naturally that they take other people's needs more important than their own, then that process of appeasing will not necessarily be genuine connection. It'll be, yes, I'm doing this because, but not because I want to, because I feel I should have to, or I feel as though I don't have a choice to. So it has to be a negotiated process that each person can come to honestly and openly, without any ulterior motives or any kind of motivations of control or manipulation. One of the best ways to do that is to initially not talk about the trauma, not talk about the thing that happened or the process that happened, but to engage in other conversation, more personal. How are you? Where are you? What are you doing? All those kind of conversational processes that can get it into a secure place that feels safe, and then offer opportunities to go further, go deeper, go into the past if that is appropriate. It might not be. Some people just don't want to go into the past, they just want to go into the future. And we have to respect that. We have to honour that. Because if we don't, then chances are that we won't connect properly. So we call that warming the context in therapy worlds, or modality worlds. So what it means basically is we talk around it, but we don't talk at it. So we get to it, but we don't initially start a process of connection to whatever it is that was the issue or the problem. And if they choose that they do not want to go there, then pushing them there, prodding them, poking them to go there won't help, because they will just detach. Maybe not physically, i.e. they might not walk out, but they certainly will have done mentally or emotionally. So we need to talk around it before we start talking about it. And as we do that, that reconnection will build. We will build respect and value and trust, and we build processes together that say, actually, yeah, we can work this. We can have some form of combined process of benefit, whatever that is. And when we're looking at that reconnection, the words we use, let's say that process might take 3, 4, 5, 10 meetings of slowly coming back. Depends on how long the disconnection has been, to a great degree. And if we can give that structure to it, say, well, okay, this isn't just a one-off, this is an ongoing process, and we can negotiate at the end of that meeting another meeting that both people feel comfortable with, then it likely is we'll build that connection, we'll build that trust. Trust, unfortunately, doesn't build straight off. It builds over a period. And we need 3 things to build that trust with anybody. We need the words which say that I'm going to respect you and validate you. We need the actions that follow the words. Whatever we said we were going to do is what we do. But that still won't build trust without consistency. Has to happen time and time and time again, so that the new experience model, if you like, the new situations, scenarios, behaviour, conditioning, is the one that we will use as a reflection process going forward. What we do as human beings is we use our experiential model to understand the world. And that's the first thing that we use if we go into emotional trauma, because it's the basic, it's the one that helped us survive, in a sense. If something destroys that model or brings trauma to that model, then it'll take us time to build up a new experiential model, which is why the consistency is important, because that builds a new model. So instead of saying this won't happen, because it hasn't happened, we can say, well, actually, yeah, it could happen, might happen, does happen. I can trust it. It's a process of getting there. So when we're making that connection to another person, all those things are there, and they are with every relationship we build. We build by understanding each other, talking, sharing, communicating, listening. We build by some shared values, shared ideals, shared responsibilities, whatever that is, commitments. We then build through that consistency that it is happening, so we get closer and closer, we can trust it, and then we connect again. We repair that disconnection, whatever it is. But it does take time, as I've said, and it's not an easy process for most people, because it does involve listening and sharing and sometimes feeling uncomfortable, either for us, ourselves, or for them sometimes. And as we move forward, building that reconnection process, then we may be able to talk about the trauma, the thing that happened. We may not. It's no big deal if we can't, because it's happened. Yes, it's changed us, informed us, whatever it's done to us. But going forwards is always going to be a new experience, a new idea, a new process. So do we really want to concentrate on the stuff that went wrong, that hurt us, pained us, kind of made our world intolerable sometimes? Or do we want to go forward and create a new world from it? Either is okay. But in that reconnection process, both people have to want to do it. If one does and one doesn't, it will not work. So you have to listen to the other person, see what their needs are, and you have to negotiate and compromise what those are for the shared reality, and then move it forward. And if we can do that, human beings tend to be social animals, and we want usually to connect in some way, shape, or form. Then that process of connection can be one that we rebuild. It won't be the same as the one we lost, though. Be aware of that. Don't think you're going to get the other person back fully. You might get, part of them back that was the old person. They won't have all changed everything they do or everything they look at the world usually. But part of it will be brand new. And that is the bit that we are going to have to get used to. The newness, the difference, the diversity. And in the process of reconnecting, we kind of have to talk about that new aspect, the way it's changed, what you now see the world as or become, because that will help us to grow a different relationship, a different process going forward. If you're going through this process, then hopefully what I've shared today will help. If you've been through this process, then hopefully, and there has been a disconnection, then hopefully you'll be able to maybe do it differently going forward. And I suppose if that other person does not want to connect for whatever reason, either it's too uncomfortable or they've changed so much that they don't think they can connect to us as we are, then we have to accept it. And in accepting it, then that is not obviously what we wanted, but we have to allow it because we can't force somebody to connect. But if that is happening, where that person has disconnected, then leave it with a process of knowledge that if they want to reconnect at any point, we would be open to that. We would look for it. We would be actively involved in a positive way to make it happen. So in order for them to feel like they're in control, then we give them that responsibility. But it means we don't have to have the guilt of disconnection. We tried, we gave them the opportunity, and we are waiting for them to make it change, because that will be helpful for them. It'll be, this is on my terms, it's on my process. If we can do that, then the chances are the door's always open for the future. They might not take it, obviously, but they may do. So it's not lost. It can reconnect at some point in the future, but there's going to be some space and time needed for them to find, if they want to, and if they do want to, how they can do it. It's not an easy process for most people. Disconnecting from somebody you care about, you love, or you're connected to. And certainly if we haven't had the choice to do it, if it's been done to us in a sense, that's much harder. But hopefully, with a bit of understanding, a bit of shared process, acceptance from both parties, then it can be something that's achieved. Hopefully that made sense. And if it did, fantastic. And maybe you can look at relationships and reconnection in a different way. And if you know somebody who's gone through this process, then please like and share this podcast, because you never know when it'll be helpful for other people. As you're going through your world and your life, then Try to be connected if you can, but not on the other person's terms. You have to agree to it, you have to sign up to it. Don't try and appease people to connect, because eventually you build some kind of resentment, and that will be helpful. Nothing is irreparable. Sometimes seems like it is. My name's Ian Wallace. I'm the Messed Up Counsellor. Take care. Hi, thanks for listening to the podcast, and hopefully it made sense and was interesting for you. Please subscribe, like, and share. With the podcasts, you never know who will be helped by the things we talk about, things we share. We don't normally tell people our problems, but by sharing it and helping other people to understand things. The book Insecurity, It's All About Me, is also available now through Amazon. And it gives you an understanding of what drives insecurity, how insecurity works within our human dynamics, and how you can get a much more secure connection with people. It gives you lots of ideas and thoughts, which is really good. So thanks for listening. Subscribe, like, share, hit the button. And if you've got any comments, please give me them, and I'll do my best to answer them. Thanks very much. Take care.